Nous devons nous mettre au travail, premièrement pour sortir de cette transition qui dure depuis 32 ans, parce que je dois vous dire que nous sommes dans une transition depuis 1986. Aujourd'hui, nous sommes en 2000. Ça fait près de 34 ans, je dirais. On va avoir en 2020. Ça fait 34 ans depuis que nous sommes dans une transition. Quand je parle de transition, ce n'est pas possible qu'un pays, en 34 ans, un pays à 15 présidents, a connu 15 présidents. Ça ne me fait aucun sens. Cela veut dire que c'est une crise permanente. Il faut sortir de cette crise permanente.
Que vous allez être un dictateur dans le pays? Non,
ça n'existe pas. C'est pas ça, c'est un point. Là, c'est un président qui cherche un accord politique.
C'est ça ce que vous faites maintenant?
Maintenant, là, nous sommes en plein travail pour trouver cet accord politique avec les forces en présence dans le pays. Je veux parler des forces sociales, des forces politiques et des forces économiques pour trouver un accord. Et cet accord politique va nous permettre rapidement, je dirais dans un avenir proche, d'avoir des élections dans le pays. Et pour que le Parlement, la 51e législature, soit mise en place pour jouer son rôle. Le pays a 5 problèmes. Corruption, 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 corruption. Le personne, je dis personne, ne pourra prendre ce dossier pour faire la chasse aux sorcières et des persécutions politiques. Je vois que des institutions qui sont là pour lutter contre la corruption, je constate leur faiblesse. Que la corruption, ce n'est pas seulement de lutter contre la corruption, mais il faut faire de la prévention aussi. Je suis un président institutionnel, je crois dans les institutions de mon pays, mais avec cette constitution, ces institutions ne peuvent pas jouer leur rôle réellement. Et la présidence, je veux parler, et l'exécutif, et le législatif, et le judiciaire. Nous avons pris des actions, je dois vous dire que je viens de vous parler de l'indépendance des pouvoirs. Et je sais que vous avez compris que le pouvoir judiciaire est libre. Nous avons pris des actions. Quelle action? C'est de dire au pouvoir judiciaire que nous sommes là pour encadrer en fait ce pouvoir en termes, quel que soit le besoin logistique que ce pouvoir va avoir, nous sommes prêts.
Hello guys, welcome back to the 1804. Today we'll be covering a few topics, mainly the surveillance plane that went over Haitian airspace over the weekend, last weekend I should say, as well as this new UN report concerning the gang activities in Haiti, which is very interesting. They made very interesting claims, which I want to explore with you guys, as well as the training of a SWAT unit for the Haitian National Police trained by the US. So let's get into it right now. So over last weekend, abruptly announced, to be honest, on Saturday that Canada deployed military aircraft over Haiti to allegedly disrupt gangs. So this essentially, I'll get into the article here. The Canadian government said on Sunday it deployed a military aircraft over Haiti to address what it called a dire security situation and to support efforts to disrupt the activities of Haitian gangs. Canada said in a statement that it supports the Haitian National Police and deployed a Royal Canadian Air Force RCAF CP-140 Aurora long-range patrol aircraft in response to Haiti's request for support as violence continues to escalate in the country. Before I continue, like I said, this was just abruptly announced in the sense that it's announced that this was going to go over Haitian airspace to gain intelligence. Now, on the other side, though, you could argue that it was announced abruptly. So if the intent was to actually gather information on gangs, there would not, in my opinion, there wouldn't be any better way than to do it as a surprise rather than announce it ahead of time and then the gangs however they would do it, prepare themselves to maybe not be seen or maybe not conduct certain activities they would usually conduct if they knew they weren't being surveilled. So let's continue. Haitian gangs have expanded their territory since 2021, assassination of then President Jovenel Moïse. The resulting violence has left much of the country's off limits to the government and led to a routine gun battle with police. Haiti is expected to be on the agenda when U.S. President Joe Biden visits Canada next month. The Canadian patrol aircraft will provide intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance capabilities to bolster efforts to establish and maintain peace, and will remain in the region for a number of days, the Canadian government said. So here's also a news release from the National Defense here. Today, the Minister of National Defense, Anita Anand, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Nations Unies, announced that Canada has deployed a Royal Canadian Air Force CP-140, a Royal long-range patrol aircraft, to support Canada's effort to disrupt the activities of gangs in Haiti and demonstrate Canada's commitment to the Haitian people. Canada is undertaking efforts to address the dire security situation in the country and supports the Haitian National Police. Canada is providing this assistance in response to Haiti's request for support as violence continues to escalate in the country. What I find very funny is obviously you get a news release from Canada, but there was no official news release from the Haitian government itself. No announcement at all. This was all Canadian, and you would think that they would put at least an announcement considering the fact that there's a plane in their airspace, and mainly with the intent to disrupt gangs on Haitian soil. Yet there wasn't any announcement. Now, there was already talks about maybe Canada leading an intervention, and then we've seen news that last week just Jamaica has offered potential help. El Salvador offered technical assistance. Now, what does this mean? This plane flying over Haitian airspace? Well, there's many implications in the sense that, one, although if the intent is to help out and disrupt gangs, the permission to do that was given by a de facto government that's not elected. That's one thing. And again, I'll keep mentioning this again. This is a prime minister that was on the phone twice with one of the prime suspect in the Jovenel Moïse assassination, which Joseph Félix Badiou is still wanted by the Haitian National Police for that. So that's one thing too. Secondly, to me at least, this is Canada kind of testing the waters and see how people would react. Now obviously it'd be different if they had launched like for example, I don't know how to call them, but like these type of assault planes hovering through the country. I'd see that as a act of aggression in a sense. Now these long range patrol aircraft, which basically, like they mentioned, provide intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance capabilities. I think this is just them testing the waters to see how people will react to a potential intervention in the country. And the only reason I'm saying that is because there's two things. It was announced abruptly, but mainly for the intelligence for gangs. I'm like, how committed are you in the fact that you guys sent a plane, which I'm assuming they had to fuel themselves, which costs money, just to send up information up to Ottawa or wherever to analyze the information captured by this plane. And then with that information as well, what is it like? What are you going to do with it? Is it going to be given to the Haitian National Police so they can get intelligence and conduct their activities? That has not been explained as well. On the Haitian side, nothing has been explained on this as well. And it's a little sketchy too. I'm not trying to allude to anything, but this is where I'll get to the UN report, and all the timing of these news outlets report covering Haiti is a little odd and seems coordinated in the sense that it seems like they're pushing for some type of intervention with this de facto government in place right now. That's what it seems to me. And I think it seems like they're trying to push this intervention before there is a new election that happens. I think they're trying to do this while Ariel Henry is in power, which they have about a year to do so. So we'll see where this goes, but I was personally surprised. Just, and again, I mentioned it before, but just the abrupt announcement um of this. It hovered over Haiti for 2 days. We'll get something here. So, a Canadian Armed Forces surveillance plane was heading home Tuesday after two intelligence collecting flights over Haiti. A military spokesperson, Captain Gramet Scott, said Tuesday that the long surveillance plane was originally signed to a U.S.-led counter-narcotics mission in the Caribbean before being tasked with conducting 2 flights over Haiti over 2 days. The CP-140 has been capturing information that will be used by the government of Canada to further assess the situation in Haiti, Scott said in an emailed statement. So I want to be clear. As before, I said if the police is going to use this information, it actually looks like the government of Canada is actually going to use the information they captured. There's no mention, at least by this gentleman here, Scott, a military spokesperson, Scott, that the Haitian National Police will even have access or use this type of information, which then again leads me to think, what was the intent of capturing the surveillance? And if you're not going to share it with the Haitian National Police, why did you need this information personally? As to the speaking of the government of Canada, if it's going to be used by the government of Canada to assess the situation in Haiti, but not be used by the government of Haiti. So that's one thing as well. It wasn't immediately clear how the information will be used, though Haiti's unelected Prime Minister Ariel Henry has requested a foreign military intervention, which Washington says Canada ought to lead. And then again, the AP article is referring to the request that Ariel Henry had done back in November. So we'll see where this goes, but it's very interesting, and I doubt, this is my opinion, I think in terms of this aircraft covering over, I personally think this was planned ahead of time. I don't think that I think they picked a day. They said we're just gonna deploy it on this day because at the end of the day, obviously, it was planned in the sense they let the people involved know that was gonna happen. But I think this was way ahead of time. Planned. Maybe it could have been discussed at the summit. Could have been even discussed before then. And by summit, I mean the Three Amigos summit that happened a couple of weeks ago between the U.S., Canadian, and Mexican leaders. So next off here, an article from Al Jazeera. UN Human Rights Chief calls on international powers to help Haiti. So this is Volker Turk right here, and Volker Turk is basically a human rights commissioner. The United Nations Human Rights Chief has urged the international community to consider deploying a specialized armed force to Haiti. So the same narrative that's getting printed out in the main media, just a push for a kind of international specialized force. They're not really focusing on U.S. forces, but more like the narrative has shifted to a kind of specialized unit to help the police as well. Warning that violence gangs are creating and living nightmare for thousands of people. The appeal from UN Rights Commissioner Volker Turk on Friday came at the end of a 2-day visit to Haiti at the request of its government. And then again, this de facto government, which has found itself unable to control gangs, killings, rapings, and pillaging in a growing numbers of neighborhoods. Violence has spiked in the impoverished country since the July 2021 assassination of Haitian President Jovenel Moïse. It is time for the international community to help Haitian authorities regain full control so the suffering can be stopped. Hours later, at an Organization of American States meeting in Washington, D.C., the United States government said it would continue to discuss with international partners the possibility of sending a multinational force composed primarily of police. Francisco Mora, the U.S. ambassador to the OAS, said his country was still working with others to build a framework to provide security and stability for Haiti, adding that Washington would also soon implement new sanctions and visa restrictions. So, essentially, nothing new here. And then the article is referring to a report, which I'll show you the report right now. But nothing new here. Push for an international task force to help out Haiti. But then, so if you go into UN report, and this is what the article is referring to, a new UN report warns a spike in gang attacks, gross human rights abuse in Haiti. Okay, and then, so This new report said that from July 8th to December 31st, 2022, gang violence resulted in 263 murders in the Brooklyn neighborhood of Cité Soleil, an impoverished, densely populated commune near the capital of Port-au-Prince. It documented that at least 57 gang rapes of women and girls, as well as kidnappings and sexual exploitation. On one day alone, July 8th, gang members murdered 95 people, including 6 children, one of whom was aged 2, according to this report. So, before I get into this again, the G9 gang has spread terror by using snipers who indiscriminately kill anyone who entered a field of vision, the report said, adding that on average 6 people are killed each week by snipers. So, again, the narrative, and so United Nations put sanctions out of all the gangs in Haiti, put the sanctions on Jimmy Serieuse alliance with the J9 and JPEP itself. They had not put sanctions on many gangs such as Vitalom, Katsamaozo, who are then again responsible for most of the kidnappings that are going on in Port-au-Prince. And a few others as well, but those two, the main ones that have made the news multiple times. Vitalom multiple times has allegedly, well, he stated this, but allegedly he's met with political politicians discussing in terms of matters of power and territory. He said this on radio shows as well, and I actually covered this. You can go back to the last episode. I actually covered this where there's a recording of him saying that he had sat before Prime Minister Ariel Henry was Prime Minister. There was a discussion and he had sat down with them at a table. So there is that. Yet these people are nowhere to be found in these UN reports. But yet you have the G9 again, Jimmy Cheruzier basically trying to protect these neighborhoods from the real gangs that are committing crimes, rape, murder, and literally killing cops, police officers as well. But yet that is not mentioned in this report. And I'm literally not mentioned, like Vitalum, like I just for fun I put G9 in the report. It's a 24-page report. I put G9, it shows up 52 times. Katsama also shows up about, I'll show you again, but about 3 times, but not in that in a truthful context. And then Vitalom gets no mention whatsoever. What you see here, this is just the gang areas. Well, I'll read here. Gang areas of operating in Brooklyn as been vision. So it doesn't really show you much. Really, it doesn't. It doesn't tell you what zones that. Which gangs operates which zones exactly, but it tells you which areas are controlled by gangs right here. So as you can get an idea here, all these essentially all these in color are controlled by gang. And then the 2 dots right here, that's where you see the most victims that this report is referring to here, which is in, if I'm basing it off, in the neighborhood of Brooklyn, in a bit between Brooklyn and Boston neighborhoods. So I'll get into the report right here because I found it very interesting. So this is just the executive summary, and I'll get into it. So during the first week of July, the Brooklyn neighborhood recorded intense attacks carried out by gang G9 and family and allies. The following weeks and months witnessed an almost permanent climate of terror due to the use of snipers that kill at random any person who passed in their field of vision. Now, where are they getting this information? We already know that the RNDDH, the mainstream media ran with the report of the RNDDH, which allegedly said that Jimmy Cherizier conducted the La Saline massacre. When you hear from the Haiti Liberté documentary and his side of the story, essentially what was happening during that time, they were since he was a former cop, they're actually going back to the zone where there was a failed mission where they had lost police officer had died. So Jimmy Cherizier led a mission to go recoup the bodies. And by trying to recoup the bodies, there was exchange of fires itself. And then, but they painted that as a massacre on where Jimmy Cherizier, where it wasn't exactly a massacre. There was guns exchanging on both sides, but they painted it as a a full massacre itself, which is not entirely which is not true at all. So they seem to be running with the narrative, and then again, this UN report is not, in terms of where it's getting information, we don't know. So under here on executive summary, at the same time, the G9 used other taxes to restrict the movement of people and block access to basic goods, notably to food and water, but also sanitation services, such as garbage collection. These taxes have further impoverished the local population, worsened an already extremely unsanitary environment, thus promoting the spread of infectious diseases. As such, cases of cholera were recorded in the Brooklyn neighborhood as early as the beginning of October. Health Service has not previously documented any in the country since 2019. Which then again, if you hear from people in Haiti, the in terms of cholera, the crisis you could say is over, but cholera is it's still in Haiti, like it never left. So whether or not the health service has not documented or anything, like it's always been there, especially like after the peacekeepers were there in the late 2000s, but they were the cholera never left the country. However, beginning July 2022, the attacks intensified, resulting in an increase in the number of persons killed and injured. In addition, the more frequent and intensely blockage of Brooklyn's entry and exit routes, which had begun in May 2020, with the creation of the G9 coalition, resulted in a deterioration of the health environment that may partially explain the resurgence of cholera cases. So here you can see the gangs associated with G9, JPEP, and then again, this whole report, which I'm not going to go through because honestly it's a complete waste of time when you look at it, because I can't take this report seriously if it doesn't mention Vitalom like once, and that should be telling to people and just shows you what the narrative is being put out there, right? How can you not put in once? And just last week, his gang responsible for killing 3 police officers. But he's not mentioned in this report once. And this is the same dude allegedly from his side of the story has sat down with politicians, which politicians represent the state. So, and this is why I said before earlier too in Haiti why it's a bit messed up, because there's this talk about mitigating gangs. There's this focus on the G9, yet the actual gangs there's no focus on. And then even then, a lot of these gangs are associated with political figures in Haiti, as well as business figures in Haiti too, which is the part that's very messed up and messy, just messy in general. On July 6, 2022, the leader of the G9 coalition announced on social networks that he was going to carry out large-scale attacks against the gang known as Brooklyn, based in the Brooklyn neighborhood, because of its alleged links with the Katsamaozo gang, and thus take control of this neighborhood. Okay, so this statement is interesting because when you're reading the report, and then again, it said the G9 coalition announced on social media that I was going to carry out large-scale attacks against a gang known as Brooklyn, based in the Brooklyn neighborhood, because of alleged links of Katsamaozo. Then again, does it show the full context? No, but here you see Katsamaozo mentioned, but then they're showing it. They don't really focus on the Katsamaozo gang that kidnapped North American missionaries about 2 years ago still, right? They're just saying, oh, the G9 was about to go attack the Katsamaozo gang, yet they're the actual ones that are responsible for most kidnappings that are going on, right? But they don't mention that in that way in the report. They don't focus on Katsamaozo or Vitalom. They're focusing on Jimmy Cherizier, coincidentally. Happens to be the guy that claims that, again, he's a revolutionary, he's fighting against the system, former police officer fighting against the system and protecting neighborhoods as well. So, and then here you see here 32 other groups in the GPEP coalition, in particular the Katsamaozo gang. But then again, so they say the other groups in the GPEP coalition, in particular the Katsamaozo gang, but if you go back, they don't put them, there's inconsistencies in the report. They don't put them in this report, but they want to mention them to kind of, when they do mention them again, they want to give them that negative association with the Katsamaozo gang. And I'll finish the sentence here. Other groups in the JPEP coalition, in particular the Katamauzo gang based in Kwadebuke, attempted to support the Brooklyn gang during the month of July. However, they were stopped in Kwademission neighborhood by the group called Chemichan, also associated with the G9. So these are two gangs that are mentioned, which are actual gangs, but then they're saying they're associated with the G9, which is completely false. And if they were, why wouldn't you put them in this little graph here? Gangs associated with the G9, where I do not see Katamauzo mentioned at all, or Chemichan. So we'll see how this goes. Clearly, the narrative is still to focus on Jimmy Cherizier. There's no mention of Vitellum, Katamauzo. Maybe the plane that Canada sent will shine the light on those gangs. I hope so. But we'll see, because the narrative has not changed. I don't even think, at least if people have been following this internationally, they would even know those two other gangs, because they keep seeing just Jimmy Cherizier, and he's the same guy, obviously, that keeps giving access to interviews, while the real thugs actually are not being able to get interviewed by mainstream media. And that could be probably because they're actual thugs and they can't guarantee the protection of these reporters or journalists going into these neighborhoods, right? So there's that. So next up, so U.S. is training Haiti police to combat gangs, but that's not its only security worry. So yeah, so right now, actually, there's a special unit getting trained, special SWAT team getting trained by the United States to combat the gangs, because obviously, as of now, the Haitian National Police is weak and they're not have many resources or the proper training to actually conduct these types of combat gangs. At the end of the day, if Haiti had its military, they would be the people responsible to conduct these types of missions, but we do not have a military. Todd Robinson, the Biden administration official in charge of helping Haiti equip and bolster its police force, is under no illusion about the challenges he faces in helping a country root out kidnapping gangs that control at least 60% of its capital. A former journalist before he became a career diplomat in the State Department, Robinson has a reputation for taking on tough assignments and delivering tough messages, especially on topics of democracy and human rights in the region. As ambassador of Guatemala in 2014 to 2017, he faced expulsion threats for more than once for speaking out. As chargé d'affaires in the U.S. Embassy in Venezuela, a year later, he was booted out the country by later Nicolás Maduro after the Trump administration called his presidential victory a sham. We have vehicles coming. We are working to get more armored vehicles delivered in the next few weeks. All this should be assigned to those that want to fight against violence and chaos in Haiti, Robinson told My Herald after inspecting some of the equipment being delivered. Traditional concerns like cocaine and illegal arms trafficking in the Caribbean Sea, which now account for about half of all firearm export investigations by U.S. federal agencies, remain high priority, but there are new threats. They include China. The U.S.'s phobia of China and its growing influence in the Caribbean and Latin America through an investment program known as the Belt and Road Initiative, and its vast illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing operations off the Galapagos Island. I don't even know what this unreported, unregulated stuff that's going on, but in no way could the U.S. be the stand on the moral high ground on what's regulated, what's legal, what's illegal. So I'm not going to look into that. You now have roads built by Chinese companies of questionable quality. You have infrastructure projects being done on questionable quality, and you have grants and loans being made that are in many cases not favorable to the countries that are actually signing these contracts, but are favorable to certain politicians in these countries, Robinson said about the Belt and Road Initiative. Russia as well. All these things are on our radar screen. So obviously it seems like we're going into a multipolar world in a sense that the U.S. won't be the only dominant superpower. China definitely on the rise as well. And the U.S. sees that as a threat, specifically also in the Western Hemisphere. As you know, back in the 1920s, the U.S. president, I don't want to butcher this, If it was not I'll get this back, but if it was not Eisenhower, it was Roosevelt, but they wanted mainly to maintain um, U.S. influence in the Western Hemisphere. And obviously Haiti being in the Western Hemisphere, Latin America being in the Western Hemisphere, today, they see China as a threat because even then, Cuba had signed a deal for the Belt and Road Initiative, which Cuba is in the Western Hemisphere as well. And you see more and more countries in Africa associating with China for these types of deals. And a lot of these countries are actually getting infrastructure projects built. For example, railroads, roads and trains. But you see the statement here, they're saying you now have roads being built by Chinese companies of questionable quality. At least from my view, I've seen them, they look great. Now they could be, who knows how the roads will look. Maybe they're not good quality. We don't know that yet because it hasn't been 10, 20 years since any of these roads have been even built, since the inception of the program. So this is kind of putting dirt on China, kind of make it seem like, oh, like this is a bad thing, the way it's framed, at least in the statement. Because as much as Haiti has ties to the United States, there's not once that the United States came in, oh yeah, let's come in and help you build this. And nor do they owe Haiti to do it. But it's funny that once there's a country that's out here trying to establish relations, and by doing that offering infrastructure or development projects, that's when the U.S. sees this as a threat, and they're questioning the quality and also the loans, because that's another thing with the loans. China often gives concessionary loans to these other countries so they can build infrastructure on, and the interest payback is really 0.01. However, they do need to pay it back, because then again, one thing that is true, China does have their terms. So there are terms that if they don't pay back in a certain amount of time, there's been situations over time or certain deals where China can take ownership of a certain piece of infrastructure if it's not paid back. And those terms are obviously established in the deal prior for it to being signed. But it has happened in a few countries in Africa that weren't able to pay it back quick enough, where China said, well, okay, well, we'll take about 30% of your imports of this port that we built, for example, or 20% of this. It has happened as well. So en route to the airport, Robinson had one more stop to see a new SWAT team the U.S. is training in action. As an officer on the microphone explained the exercise, a group of trainees ran through a makeshift obstacle course, swinging on bars and crawling through tight spaces to reach the finish line. A mine-protected armored vehicle soon barreled across the yard, its backyard swing open as it took part in a simulated hostage rescue. SWAT has really developed considerably, LB, the police chief told Robinson, as he expressed his gratitude for the latest equipment delivery and asked for more American-made armored vehicles. Day by day, they prove their maturity. They're working on discipline, respect of the principles, and the rule of law, Elbe said. In the risk theory of the Haitian National Police, SWAT is the unit that has the least number of cases of poor human rights or a lack of discipline. Impressed by what he saw, Robinson said the demonstrations are a real example of the progress that can be made in a short period of time with officers who are committed to doing the right thing. So then again, these SWAT, this unit is going to be trained to fight the gangs. But then again, one thing I just have to add to this is when it does come to fighting, where and who will they target, right? Will the actual gangs that are associated to politicians, entrepreneurs, or will it be, again, the G9 coalition that the mainstream and a few A-class politicians are running with as well? So anyways, guys, thank you for tuning in. When you get the chance, please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and thanks for your support, guys. I appreciate it very much. And take care.